Well, that doesn't really make sense. So let's go on to the next slide. And this is the component piece of a resume, how I typically like to see a resume. A resume is telling your story. A couple of things that I think are important here is you no longer need your street address, but you do need a zip code. And I'll tell you why. When a resume is sent in, when you apply for a job, it goes into an applicant tracking system. On the back end, and Adrian, you know this from being a recruiter, we have data fields that we source on and that we put information on. So I may have a job in Reston, Virginia, but I want somebody who has a short commute or is close by, it's just better success. So I may put the Reston, Virginia zip code in and show me somebody within 10 to 15 miles. If you don't have a zip code, you could potentially get lost because it's not in that data field. Also, this is where the 3D approach comes in. And I rarely see this on resumes, and I think it's such a strong tool, is to have a customized URL from your LinkedIn that a recruiter can simply click on and then take a look, see what you're all about, see how you're branding yourself. You want to make it really easy for the person that's reading your resume. You just want to make it easy for them. I also am a big fan of either an objective or a career summary. Typically, an objective is used for a recent to 2 to 3 years person. Tell the reader what you're looking to do. So many times I get a resume and I'm like, oh, what does this person want to do? If you tell me and you apply for a job that's relevant, well, you're making it easier on me. So I'm more likely to pick up the phone or send you an email and say, let's schedule a call. Tell the reader about the position you desire. A career summary for somebody who's a little bit more advanced in their career, maybe they're pivoting in their career and they want to move into their career into another direction, then they can have a brief summary of why it makes sense. So if you're following me, you just really want to make it easy for the reader. Tell that story. I like a core competency section of a resume. It tells me what you're really good at. And as I think I spoke about this before, communication, both oral, written and oral, detailed oriented, that's really important. Organized, teamwork, collaboration, especially for a recent grad, because you don't have a lot of experience. But if you can really highlight what you're good at, it helps. It helps them to, the reader, the recruiter, the hiring manager, to better understand what you're all about. Also, for recent grads, typically the education is up front. That's your biggest success as far as a career. So recent grads, I would put your education, GPAs 3.0 or greater. Some people put relevant classes. Like if you're a math major, there's some really great calculus or different classes that are relevant to what you're looking for. Economics, the same type of thing. Bullet points, because we give a resume about 5 seconds in a review. So bullet points is the best format, and we'll talk about that when I show you some examples. Achievements that you may have had, I call that PAR, which means problem, action, results. If there's any measurements, if you implemented something that decreased a time frame and helped, like maybe you used Excel to make a process quicker, faster. You want to use that. And then there's action words. You can just simply go to Google and type in action words and you'll get a list of action words. And then your softwares. This is really important. Many of the recent grads to 5 years, you guys grew up on software. It's like second nature to you. However, if you know Excel, but you have the advanced functions of Excel, put that in there. If you know how to create macros, if you know how to do graphs and charts, really qualify and quantify your software. Because often you'll see job descriptions and they'll say in the job description, you know, have to have Excel with these functions. So the next slide is going to be an example.
And actually, before I go to the next slide, I have a question that I want to add in there. When we talk about the core competencies, and this is technically, it's basically your skills section on your resume. And one of the questions that typically come across my table is, do we include soft skills? And you kind of briefly touched on this about, you know, being detail oriented, having good communication skills. Sometimes students may overlook the soft skills, but I try to tell them how important the soft skills are. Can you explain why that is important?
Sure, thanks. No, it is. And I was actually on a panel with several other employers, and we wrote down what our clients typically look for. And it was really, with the recent grads, it was the soft skills. Because there's skills that can be taught. You can be taught how to run a particular software. You can be given instructions how to do a certain process. But if you don't have the desire, the organizational skills, especially as a recent grad, that's why it's so important. Hard skills are very teachable, but the soft skills, the communication skills, the detail, the time management, organizational skills, those are innate, and those sometimes cannot be taught as much as the hard skills. Does that make sense? Does that help?
That definitely makes sense. And in terms of the objective, how long should an objective be?
I think an objective should be 1 to 2 sentences.
Okay.
Not very long, but not just, I want to be, I'm looking to develop my career as a data analytics professional. And then you can say, to leverage my academic, and maybe you had some experience and internship experience to add value to the team. That's 2 sentences, short and sweet.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. And just to remind students to put yourselves on mute if you're not speaking up.
Could I actually ask a quick question about?
Oh, yes.
Sure.
Yeah, of course.
So is it enough to just list a soft skill, or do we need to essentially explain why we have acquired that skill, or something that we've done, like some experience we have with that?
That's a really good question. And yeah, I think you do have to back it up in your body of your resume. So let me ask you this. What are you thinking you want to write down? What is a soft skill that you'd like to write in your resume?
So how about strong written and personal communication?
Okay. So that would be, so where have you developed those skills? Or do you have an internship, or is it through school?
Yeah, so a couple places. So I used to wait tables. So I think that that's strong personal communication. You have to understand what the customer wants and then deliver it, something that they're interested in. And then for written, I did a lot of written communication with my internship.
Okay, so perfect. So those are 2 really good examples. So under your internship, you want to say that you wrote, I don't know if it was detailed reports, white papers, whatever it was. What was it? What did you write?
So I would write a lot of things, but yeah, so maybe media reports or summaries, things like that.
You know, so you wrote media reports or summary for whom? To be published? For management review?
Typically for management review.
Okay, so for management review, that's perfect. And I waited tables all through college. I think, and I would hire anybody who was a waiter or a waitress, just FYI. And I do agree. It's a very, you know, you have to have clear communication. You have to have organizational skills. You have to have time management skills to be a good, and you have to be a team worker. Those are 3 or 4 things waiting tables, skills that you acquired. Now, how do you write that? You could say, develop strong communication skills by servicing, the clientele. You could also say that you worked in a team environment, so where you got team working skills. Again, you want to look, some of the language is in the job descriptions themselves. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And also to add to that, under each of your work experience, when you're writing out your bullet points, you want to ask yourself, how often did you do it, to whom, and how many times? So like how often would be like on a weekly basis, I provided daily reports to management for review. And that is stating clearly what the task that you were in charge of, but it's also very specific because it says you've done it on a weekly basis, and you had to work with management and provide daily reports or something like that, or maybe multiple 5 or 10 reports on a weekly basis. So if you add numbers in and how often and for who, that will get your point right across.
Just to add on to that, when you're doing these reports, like in your internship, if you had to create graphs, using Excel, or you did PowerPoint, you had to create PowerPoints, mention that specifically. Created PowerPoint decks for management review that they would present to the board of directors or whomever they would be reporting them to. So you kind of have to finish your statement. Many people just leave it dangle. And at the end of each bullet, I always say, so what? Like, what did you do? What was impactful? What impact did this action have?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're not expecting you, recent grads, to go in and run a company. So just remember that. Everybody knows that you're just getting out of school, but the fact that you have worked, you did an internship, you waited tables, whatever you can bring to the table. It could be, the next person we're going to talk about is a dog walker. So it'll show you how you can really build yourself up. So any questions in that area? We're going to go on to, I'll show you what I mean by revising resumes. We good?
Question. Actually, I have one question.
Yes.
So, for instance, you've already done an internship. Is it so? For instance, you have done an internship before, and you want to apply for a job. Is it possible that you need to add the internship experience in your resume so people would know what experience you have with it?
Yes, absolutely relevant. Yeah.
I have another question. So what if you have taken like a short course on like different learning websites like Udemy or Coursera, and you would like to add that also in the resume, but you don't have a certification or anything? Do you think that would be a good addition?
You could put that under education. So for example, people who are, I work a lot with CPAs. So people who have they have their degree in accounting, but then they're studying for their CPA. So there's a course that they take called Becker CPA Review. I always recommend that people put that on there because it's more education that's helping to propel your career and your skill set. So this class that you took online, what was the purpose of it?
It's actually Python programming, so it's related to what I'm studying.
Okay, perfect. I would absolutely put it on there, even though you don't have the degree.
It can also go under relevant coursework, which Maureen talked about earlier. If you do have a relevant coursework section on your resume, you can add that too as well.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to go on to, this is one of my candidates that I've been coaching. So this is the resume that he gave me. And it's 2 pages. It's not the way it looks. It's 1 page to the left and the second page is on the right. And, recent grads typically do 1 page. Sometimes it's okay to do the second. So here's the resume he gave me. I hope you can all see it. It's a little choppy. It's not really telling me a good story. He doesn't have the LinkedIn. It's just kind of blah. So let's go on to the next one. This is where I worked with him and revised it. Okay, so you can see on this one, clearly he has, Metro DC. Before, he didn't have a zip code on there. We call it career aspirations. He's got a couple of years under his belt, but he didn't go right out of the gate. He did not get like a professional job per se. So it talks about what he wants to do. It's very clear, very concise. There's also a hot link to his LinkedIn page. There's his competencies: research, analytical, detailed, resourceful. Self-starter is great. Teamwork and collaboration. And you'll also notice I have MS Office in there. So he's been a dog walker for about 5 years, and he decided, okay, this isn't sustainable anymore. I need to get a real job. We worked with it a little bit. We put a hot link to the company he worked for. So if I'm a recruiter, I can click on and look a little bit, see what else is going on, what kind of a company it was. And then, we just kind of like beefed it up a little bit. Like he has the second bullet. It says, develop strong relationships with prominent clientele, which resulted in best-in-class service and trustworthy access to homes. In my opinion, does that give you a good understanding? Like, he's responsible. He's, resourceful. He's a self-starter. He also, earned extra income by doing dog sitting over weekends. And then we go down to his internship. And that's where, again, self-starter. He did some analytical work. He did some organizational skills where he set up events. And then the second page, you'll see it, double tree, that shows his customer service skills and his degree. And this is where you ask about, additional schooling. You'll see he went to the Canine Learning Center, and he's certified in obedience. So he took his career very seriously. And then, of course, his Excel skills his software skills weren't very advanced. But again, he just incorporated it onto the resume. I feel that's a little bit better than putting your interest on there. That's a little bit more relevant. Does anybody have any questions on this? Does this make sense to you?
Actually,
do you see the difference?
I want to point out, so here on this resume, you will see that the education is on the second page because this student or this person has more years of experience. So it's not as relevant as for you as a student coming out of college. Education is going to be at the top. But what I want to ask you, Maureen, at what point do you move education to the bottom?
What made me move education to the bottom on this one? Just because it was 8 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to highlight that as much. Recent grads typically usually after the second job, I will move it, given that, there's a good 2 to 3 years of experience, and there's enough body and relevant experience to really sell that individual. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on this? Do you see the difference?
Can you point out how you use the PAR method if you did?
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm going to put my glasses on. No, okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Look at under the Latimer House, the top second right. Improve membership list by creating an Excel. So he improved. that was a problem because it wasn't, it wasn't good. What's the word I'm looking for? It just wasn't organized. So improved membership list by creating Excel spreadsheet. So he created an Excel spreadsheet. He eliminated duplications of non-members. So does that make sense? So he improved it by using Excel to remove duplications, and just make a cleaner list. Let's see another way. Oh, here, how about this one? Underneath the historic Wilmington Foundation, built awareness by promoting the foundation and its philanthropic cause with local media and businesses. So it didn't have a great sense of the Latimer House or the historic Wilmington Foundation. So he helped build awareness, and then by promoting the foundation with local media and business. So the problem was it didn't have, awareness, but so he built awareness. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
One other question that's coming up here is, if you have years of experience but just recently completed a degree, do you put education at the top or bottom? That's it. I say at the top if it's most recent.
Yeah, I would say at the top. Some people I have seen, I would say at the top. Some people have put that, and then they backtrack or they'll put a space where attended university or completed degree from 04 to 05 or 05 to 04 to 09.
Yeah. And then also, if someone have experience but not relevant, actually, I'm sorry, this person's a career changer and would like to know the type of format of a resume they should have.
I like this format.
Yeah.
That's where, excuse me, you would have a career summary, or you could even say career aspirations. And it gets a little bit more complicated, but you want to say, further develop my career as whatever, a human resource professional by leveraging my experience as in the healthcare industry. Without really seeing what your background, it's hard to make that, it's hard to make a clear,
I think also
overview.
Yeah, and that's also where a cover letter, which we're not going to talk much about today, but you can also talk about.
But I think though, no, and I get the cover letter, but not everybody reads a cover letter. Yeah. So if you're doing a career change, I absolutely would take advantage, because you're telling a story. Mm-hmm. I would take advantage of career aspirations or career summary to let the reader know what you're looking to do. And then your resume, the body of your resume, has to make sense, because there's a reason that you're making this change. You might have a passion for helping people, which really drives you, and helped you make the decision to go back and get a degree in human resources. So, and I'm just using human resources because that's what I work with a great deal. If you want to connect with me on the end in LinkedIn, I'd be happy to be more specific with you. So we'll get to that.
All right, and I have two more questions, and then I want to move on to the next slides. One student has asked about if they have experience that's not relevant to their last education. Is it worth mentioning on the resume?
I would say there's always something relevant. And again, that's very specific.
Mm-hmm.
I would really have to, like, this fella was a dog walker. I mean, how relevant is that to, working in customer care? Well, he does have, we pulled out his customer service experience. So there's got to be something, I'm thinking, that you do that you've done that is relevant to where you're taking your career. Again, look at job descriptions in the lane that you want to go to. And there's a reason that you want to go in that direction. There's got to be something that you've done before. Organizational, team skills. It's really, I can't imagine your direction being so different from what you did. But if it is and you want to talk, I mean, I'm happy to chat with you if we connect on LinkedIn.
And then lastly, when would you recommend a 2-page resume? This student said that after speaking to a few hiring managers, they tend to toss a resume that's more than 1 page. So is it necessary? Can you have 2 pages or?
Well, it really depends. The rule of thumb is recent grads to have 1 page, but if you really have great experience that's relevant, then you can have it on there. Nobody's going to ostracize you. If you're that good, they're not going to send your resume away because it was over 2 pages. What you should do is go line by line. Is there redundancy? Ask the question, so what? Mm-hmm. And if your resume, if you're kind of saying something twice or it's not really impactful, then maybe take it out. Look at your margins. Take your margins out. Bring your font down to 11. That's the smallest that you can really do. And really look at your wording. Sometimes you just need to tighten it up.
Yep.
Okay?
Great.
Okay, so the next one we're going to go to is LinkedIn. I've been a LinkedIn user for a long time. It's actually changed how recruiting operates. It's so important right now that large organizations or almost any corporation or organization, there's from the corporate side, LinkedIn sells what they call recruiter license to recruiters in corporations. They're $5,000 a seat for 1 recruiter. So if they have, it's a major investment. Talent is a major investment in organizations. So I highly, highly, highly recommend you get on LinkedIn. I'm assuming most of you have that. This is where you're going to build your living resume. So we'll go on to the next slide. And here's some of the key areas that we need to address.
Give me one. Is this the right one?
No, it's right past the blue one.
Give me 1 second. All right. Sorry.
Nope. Up.
It just jumped on me here.
There you go. Okay.
Oh, there we go.
So here.
There we go.
Okay. So really important here is to have a nice photo. If you're graduating, have a picture of you with your cap and gown on. Nothing with this isn't Facebook, nothing with your dog or your friends or, whatever. It's got to be a nice professional picture. You don't have to have a tie on anymore. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. That's where there's a place on LinkedIn where you can make your customized URL. It's up on the top right. And then there's a place that you can write a story. It's about. So you may write under your name, you could say Marymount grad, econ degree, and then this is almost mirrors your resume, but it can be a little bit lengthier on your objective, your career summary. If you look at mine, it doesn't talk about recruiting till a little bit in. I have a real passion to help people and get them to the next level. It's about what drives me. It's my why. It's what's important and why I went into this field. Like if you're a nurse, you know, why did you go into nursing? Or some people who are technology gurus, they said, you know, I've always been a tinkerer and I like working gaming. And so to them, that's the point. That's the area where you can make yourself a little bit more personal and bring yourself to life. So just tell them a little bit more about why you're going in this direction. And then, you know, go for the detail. There's some things that your resume can't hold, like your volunteer experience, any publications, any videos. As I mentioned, I have a podcast on mine. And then the other thing you want to do is you want to ask for recommendations. Maybe one of your professors, somebody that you worked with before. You've got to play with that. There's a drop-down screen, and I can show you in a little bit how to do that. So that's really the start of creating a strong LinkedIn profile. We'll go to the next one. Okay, so this is Will, the fellow that we did the dog walker. And if you notice on the top where I have community, he's looking for a job in the not-for-profit space. So many people just kind of leave that blank. I think it's really important for your branding. You know, you could put Marymount University up there. I think that's a great opportunity to put that. You can put, if you're going into the healthcare, you can put something healthcare related, HR, people related. Just make it stand out a little bit because everybody else has that blue background that with a galaxy on it or the stars, the big dipper. And I'm just not particularly fond of that. So as you can see with Andrew, very clearly, he's got a nice picture of himself, just a headshot. You see where he says he's seeking a career opportunity as a customer-facing associate in a nonprofit or association in DC. It's very clear what he's looking for. And then it talks a little bit about him in the about area. That's what I was talking about before. We also uploaded his resume on LinkedIn. That's a personal choice. And that's where we took, and then underneath it on the right-hand side is where we put his work experience. We only took about 2 bullets from that. His education, his certification is all in there. We can go on to the next screen, please. Okay, so with LinkedIn, you want to build a multimedia profile, resume, publications, podcasts, theses, and this is a great resource to connect with people. Connect with your family, your friends, your other students, professors. The more connections you have, it's better for networking into different companies. There's also a button that you can connect with recruiters, and you can tell them that you're interested in looking. And recruiters are a great resource for networking, and you just have to figure out which one you want to work with and which one you don't want to work with. And then you can always turn that off as well. You can always change your LinkedIn profile. You can always take your resume down. So you kind of have to play with this. Don't forget to include your contact information. That's really important. And have someone look at it, because from time to time I've gone in and see people's old emails on it. So make sure that's updated. LinkedIn also has groups. It demonstrates your interest. I have bulldogs, so I belong to the bulldog group. And I love to cook, so I belong to the cooking group. And you get connected to these groups. You also get connected to people in these groups who may work at a company that you're interested in. There's also another piece of LinkedIn that I think is really important when you are doing a search, an active search. I think that you should invest in paid LinkedIn. Adrienne, I think you said you did it the other day and it was like $25 a month.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And that gets,
and you can cancel it anytime.
Yeah, you can cancel it anytime, and you can send up to 5 direct messages to hiring managers.
And you know what else I think is important about that is you can see who has looked at your LinkedIn profile. So for example, if you were going to apply to Nestle and your resume went in, and you see that a recruiter from Nestle looked at your profile, you can then connect with that person and say, hey, you know, I just graduated from Marymount. Maybe there's some commonality. I noticed that you looked into my profile. I'm very interested in this position. And, you know, maybe you'll get a dialogue. It's worth the investment, and you can cancel at any time. Okay, we can go on to the next one. And that's just a little bit about the premium, who's your profile. And do they still have try it for free for 30 days?
Yes, they do. You can try it for free for 30 days.
And I would only do that once you've got your resume perfect, or the way you're comfortable with, because it's your document, you have to like it. And then once you get you finish creating that LinkedIn profile. Okay, now here's the part that the next screen. It's the monster that everybody doesn't want to hear. Networking. So, oh wait, before we go there, let me ask questions about LinkedIn. Anybody have any questions?
I asked a question like the last one for creating a resume on LinkedIn was to ask for recommendations. That was the one?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so you want to know how to do that?
I already wrote that down.
Okay.
Yeah, either how to do that or if it's important, if that is something that you should do.
Oh, okay. It's your choice. Some people don't like putting their personal information out on LinkedIn. It can't hurt. Recommendation is a good thing if you can get one. It can be impactful. One of the jobs that I got, my client, the hiring owner of the company saw that I had gotten recommended by the CFO of a company that he knew. So he knew right away. He was like, you know, this is a no-brainer. We're going to talk to this person. It's just, it's like anything else. It's just, it's a nice to have. And you can always say, you know, people look at it and say, hey, you know what, this is interesting. I might want to talk to this individual. It's your choice. This is all your choice and what your comfort level is.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I want to also piggyback on is really, and you mentioned this, Maureen, when you apply to jobs, to not just stop there.
Right.
That's why LinkedIn is so important, and it's such a great tool to get your foot in the door. So if you know there's a job that you're interested in and you've already applied, and let's say you found the recruiter or hiring manager that works there, or let's say you see that there's a student from Marymount who's an alumni who works there, connect with them, because you never know what that next step could do. It could get you an opportunity to interview with the employer. So definitely use LinkedIn as a resource.
And we're going to talk about that. So perfect. So networking, go to your family, friends, connect with them. It's all about connections. If you're on a softball league or you're on, I don't know, baseball, you know, connect with your teammates, classmates, former colleagues. When you were waiting tables, go connect with your buddies from that. Alumni love alumni. I have clients who are like, I want somebody from my school. I like people from my school. Meetup is a great resource to network. It used to be a great resource to network in person, though nobody's doing that anymore. So it's more on social networking. Career fairs, which are virtual now, but this is all pre-pandemic. Agency recruiters, somebody like myself, I actually know a ton of people. I know the companies. I know the industries. If you get a strong recruiter that you can develop a relationship with, they may be able to get you into a company based on jobs that aren't posted. They know they're coming down the pike. Because honestly, many of my clients were former candidates who have called me and said, Maureen, I want to work with you because you were so helpful with me back then. So I have very strong relationships. Was there a question that just came in?
Yes, and this student asked, should we ask on LinkedIn, should we ask for recommendations from friends, family, or colleagues, or is it better previous?
I think professional would be the best. Academic professors are good when you're going out of school, because your mother's certainly not going to, or father's certainly not going to give you a bad recommendation.
Correct.
So keep it on the professional level. Lastly, invest in business cards. This used to be pre-pandemic, but if you're at a networking event, you pull out your business card, Marymount graduate 2020, HR degree, phone number, LinkedIn, or phone number, email. How easy is that? $10 at Staples. So you might want to invest in some, because you never know where you're going to meet somebody. Okay, so here's what I want to show you. This is where LinkedIn is really cool. So let's say that you were interested, you found a job on Indeed, and it was with NRECA. It's a company that's located in Arlington. They do energy. So what you want to do is you go to the search box and you put in NRECA. And then what this pops up, it says, the number of connections, 7. There's 944 people that are on LinkedIn on NRECA. But if you go below to people highlights, there's 640 people in the Washington, D.C. area that work at NRECA that are on LinkedIn. And you either A, found a job, or you're very interested in the company because you've heard about it. So let's go on to the next slide. So then what you do is you go, when you click on the one above that said 640 employees, if you click on that link, you'll get to this link. And that's where it says search employees by title, keyword, or school. You can put anything in there. You could put Marymount in there. You could put, finance director. Maybe there's a particular technical software that you have, or you're certified in, I don't know a lot about the tech, but like in Java or C++, and you put that in there. So what we found is there's 8 people. I did it by Marymount because alumni loves alumni. So what you want to do is you put that in and you come up with 8 people who studied at Marymount University. So you click on that link where it says 8, which brings us to the next. And these are all the people who work at NRECA who are alumni from Marymount. This is networking on LinkedIn, okay? Michelle Reen, bottom left-hand side, Senior Vice President of Human Resources. Really interesting.
Thank you.
You may want to connect with her. Yes. Anybody? Okay. Hina, again, Human Resources. You may want to connect with them. So you'll get a list of individuals who went to Marymount, who work at NRECA, where you can just go on to the next slide and you click on connect or message. And this is where you can click on add a note, and you can write a note simply saying you have 300 characters, so you have to choose your words carefully. But you can say, let's look at Michelle. Hi, Michelle. I see you're an alum of Marymount. I'm graduating. I just graduated 2000 May. I'm interested in learning more about NRECA. Would you have a few moments to schedule a call or meet with me to discuss, the hiring trends at NRECA? Sincerely, Maureen, regards, Maureen, and send that note and see what happens. She may or may not respond, but that's the premise of networking on LinkedIn. Does that make sense to everyone? Does anybody have any questions?
I think that's a very important feature that I think if you can, definitely utilize it, because you'd be surprised what kind of feedback you'll get from just sending a brief note. I think most of the time when we request or connect with people, we typically just send now without putting a note.
Mm-hmm.
If you put a note, again, that's telling the person, what are you looking for? Or why are you looking to connect? And that is a really important piece that you want to include for sure.
I have a funny anecdote. This is a true story. This happened to me the other day. There was this fella, I was doing a search for a law firm and I needed particular software. So I put the software name into a search button and I came up with a bunch of people. And this one fella was a sales rep for the software company. And I thought to myself, I'm just going to connect with him. He may not. And then maybe he can refer somebody because he's worked in this community with this software and knows a lot of people. Long story short, I connect with him. He turns out to be from my area of New York. We have a phone call. He knows my nephew. True story. So he gave me like all these names that I needed for people to call, and I could use his name to see if I could find somebody for my job. I know it sounds very convoluted, but that is really the power of LinkedIn. It was just, you know, I just did a connect with a little note and we ended up knowing somebody. So that's really the value of LinkedIn. People may be able to get you into companies that you don't even know about. I'm sorry?
Remember, if you guys are to put yourselves on mute because we can hear other conversations, but did someone have a question? Okay, I'm gonna go to the next slide.
Okay, so this is where networking rules. Most of jobs are obtained through referrals. Whether it's an employee, we all know that here's a tip. When an employee is working at a company, let's not use Hilton because they're not very good right now. Let's say VW, they're located in Reston, and you wanted to work for VW, and you put up VW on LinkedIn, and you did a search, and you see one of your friends or one of your friends' parents or works there. If they bring your resume into HR and say, here's, forward it to the HR person, here's somebody I want to endorse to work at VW, and you get hired, that person that endorses you typically gets a referral bonus from like $3,000 to $5,000. So, that's a little carrot for somebody to refer you in. So just keep that in the back of your mind. So networking really rules.
There's one question that just came in. This person currently has a LinkedIn account and is an accountant, but now changing their career to a teacher. Should they create a separate LinkedIn account for teaching, or should they update their current LinkedIn profile?
I think what you should do is connect with me on LinkedIn, because that's what I do, accounting and finance, and I can see where you want to go over to teaching, and I'd be happy to walk you through it. In the summary part, I think that's where you can talk about your transition. Don't have two LinkedIn accounts. It's too confusing.
Yeah. But
you can edit your current one. And again, at the end of this, I'd be happy to talk to you. Not today, but connect with me, and I can show you how to do that. So let me go on to the next one, which is Q&A. Does anybody have any questions? Hi.
Any questions? You can also type in your questions if you like.
While they're typing, I have a plug. I have a client in Arlington, and they're looking for a financial analyst, somebody it's a global environmental consulting firm. It's one of my best clients. Jobs were on hold. Good news, people. I've heard from a couple of clients. They are looking to hire, and it's interesting because they are working remotely. So here's what the process is. Don't give up. I want you to have all, your resume, your LinkedIn. Don't give up and say, oh, they're not hiring. Hiring is going on.
Yes.
Okay. So what they're doing is they're looking at resumes. They are doing Zoom interviews. If they'll do some assessments online. If that all is passed, then they will invite you in for an interview, but it will be social distancing. So if anybody's interested in learning more about the financial analyst role that I'm recruiting for in Arlington, Virginia, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. You have to have strong Excel. They want about 3 to 4 years of experience, or if you know anyone, I'd welcome the referral.
Yeah.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Hi, Maureen.
Hi.
How is how are the recruiters working on the customer side? So, for example, if one of my students is looking for a job, can they connect to a recruiting company so the recruiting company is helping them to find a job?
Right.
So the opposite direction. So are there any companies that my students can reach out saying, this is my resume, are you helping in placing students in various companies?
Okay. Yeah, no, absolutely. So for recent grads, this is something I used to do a long time ago. For recent grads, like if you target a company that you want to work for, you can always call their HR department, and you can say to them, are there any staffing firms that you work with right now? That's one approach. Or there's multiple staffing firms in Metro DC. I feel like the best ones are boutique firms like mine that specialize in a particular field. So I do accounting, finance, and HR. As you can tell, I'm not IT driven. I don't know anything about IT. So if you're an IT person, you don't want to come to me. There's some that are HR. There are some that are recent grads. Like there's a great staffing firm called Rocks. You're familiar with them, right, Adrian? Rocks?
I haven't actually. I'm new to that.
Okay. They're ROCS. This is for recent grads. They're located in Reston, Virginia. They have a great business model. Corporations know they're only working with recent grads, and they do temp to hire, which is a great opportunity for you as a recent grad who may not have a lot of corporate experience to get your foot in the door, improve yourself. And clients love that model for recent grads who don't have a lot of experience. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much. And then I think I have a following question. So do this company charge the students or the clients?
No. Nobody should pay to find a job. Don't go to any of those. We'll get your resume all over the place for, $1,000. There's career coaching. I do that where I help people write resumes and help with their lane. That's a total different thing. I'm a job coach. I'm not promising a job. I'm helping you through the process and helping guide you like I did the fella, William Clark, who I was helping him with his resume, his LinkedIn profile, and helping him get a job. And I've been very successful, and it's nominal. It's like less than $1,000. But you should not pay anyone to find you a job. Recruiting agencies are paid by companies. Does that help?
Yes, thank you so much.
But let me just say one thing. If somebody says, write me a check, run the other way. All right?
Another question came in real quick. This person is new to LinkedIn. They are an IT student, but does not have any IT background quite yet.
Okay.
So they don't know how to make their profile look good. Is there any suggestions for them?
Yes. Look at other profiles who, is there a title that you're looking for? Are you looking to be a developer? Are you looking to be, are you looking to look at other profiles, first of all, within your space that have that are recent grads, but did you have any job experience at all? Did you babysit? Did you walk dogs? Did you run summer camps? That's a question. Okay, good. Yep. So that's going to be, you're going to have customer service skills. You're going to have organizational skills. Remember, your soft skills are really, really, really important. Mm-hmm. And you just have to write them in such a way that it's relevant. And again, I'm going to go back to look at job descriptions for language. Mm-hmm. Look what they're looking for. You've got all the, you've got your IT. You're probably really good with particular softwares or technology. And your attention to detail is probably very good. So you have to kind of write that into your experience. Mm-hmm. It's not easy.
And take advantage of some of the just updating, like adding your photo and your headline and some of the pictures.
And take advantage of the Career Center. I'm sure you guys help them with that, right? Gotta plug you too.
Perfect. Any other questions? Oh, we heard something, but we didn't hear the question. Can you restate that? Okay. Well, it is past 5 now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
It's past 5, but no, it's totally fine. You did great. And one of the things I want to ask, well, one student just asked, can we add you on LinkedIn? And I would say,
oh, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And I'll get to it tomorrow. And if anybody, there was one person who was an accountant who wanted to be a school teacher, go into education. Love to, help them structure or just give you some comments with like a 10 or 15 minute call. I don't have a lot of clients right now, so I'm more than willing to help whomever I can with like a 10 to 15 minute call just to help you get in the right place.
Yeah. And
okay.
There's a few more things coming in. I do want to just remind students before you log off, if you haven't done so already, please add your student ID number to this group chat so that way we can mark your attendance.
I have a question.
Yes.
Everybody's graduating. What are you doing for graduation?
So not everyone on the call is graduating, but
those who are graduating.
Yeah, we're having a virtual graduation.
You are.
I believe it's this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. So, and this week is a grad week too. So we're doing different events to help honor those that are graduating. Mm-hmm. And we have a few that are rising juniors, some that are graduating next year as well on the call. So this is very
rising juniors. Really important to have this for your internships. To have a good resume and a LinkedIn profile because that's what they look for. That's the first thing they ask.
Awesome. And yes, to your questions, yes, please add the student ID number to the chat box. There was one last question I wanted to answer. This is from our student Abir. What are the problems or hurdles would an international student face when they're looking to market themselves in the U.S. job market?
Okay. First off, working with a recruiter like me is complicated because it's an extra step. So typically, you're probably on a student visa. You have a limited time frame. So when outside agencies typically don't work with that. The visas are kind of tight right now, from my understanding, but there are some companies that will bring you on board. You're gonna just have to work extra hard. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And you just got to keep at it.
Yeah. And really, again, it comes down to who you know and not what you know. And so sometimes that additional networking will help you get your foot in the door.
And if they're not, if they're a foreign student, they never use network, use your Marymount network.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's correct. Yep, that's true. Yeah. Okay, any other questions before we wrap up today? And yes, I did make a recording. I will, as soon as I figure out how to save this recording, I'll see if we can upload this to either our website or to MU Engage. So,
and don't forget on my LinkedIn page under publications is a link to my podcast on how to write a resume.
Great. Take advantage of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, guys.
All right, everyone. Have a nice night. Thank you.
Thank you. Maureen, I'm going to stay on until everyone logs off.
Okay. I'm going to get off, okay?
Okay. See you later.
All right. Bye-bye. We'll talk tomorrow.
Okay.
Or later in the week. All right. Have a nice evening. Bye.
Bye.
Maureen. Let's see. Oops. Leave.